Hello, good morning to you. Many thanks for joining us. You're watching Galaxy Today, coming to you from Galaxy Television. My name is Justin Akadumi.
And of course, he's not alone. He's with Uche Onyekoji. Good morning and welcome to Galaxy Today. Of course, today is health, and not just health, we're actually looking at sexual violence and how to eliminate it. This is something that a whole lot of people believe has been going on and on. It's just that probably we didn't have, weren't this informed, but because of social media, a whole lot of information has been going on this. Okay, so Justin, I know we have a list of guests, but within Lagos and in our outstations. But you see, sexual violence looks like something that cannot be overemphasized, not overflogged, but yet it looks like, I don't know if we have done enough as a society to curb it. How far would you say Nigeria is faring?
Well, the thing is that we still have reported cases of sexual violence, and not just in married relationship, but also in people who are yet to get married, boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, and it is really something that we need to talk about. Although specifically today is the United Nations Day of Sexual Violence against in conflicts, that's for war zone scenarios. But today we'll just domesticate it to our own country in Nigeria specifically. What are the issues with sexual violence? What are we not doing right? And how do we begin to address all of these issues? And of course, get the desired change that we're talking about and change the narrative. We have guests, like Uche has said. But now, let me just play this video. It actually went viral some days ago, and an actress had to dramatize it, so the message can be clear enough. It is called "I Got Flowers Today." We'll take that and we'll come introduce our guest to join us again.
Yeah, go. I pull up her mother's eye.
Hey guys, welcome back to my vlog. I got flowers today. No, it's not my birthday or anything special like that. We had an argument last night, and he said a lot of cruel things that really hurt my feelings, but I guess he's sorry because he got me these flowers today. I got flowers today. No, it's not our anniversary or any other special day. Last night he threw me into a wall. And choked me. And then beat me till I passed out. I woke up bloody and bruised all over. It was actually a nightmare. I guess he is sorry though, because I got these flowers today. I got flowers today. No, it's not Mother's Day or any other special day. Last night he beat me again and again and again. It was worse, much worse than any other day before. He wanted to sleep with me, and I'm on my period, so I wasn't up for it. A couple of kicks, punches to the face, and he had his way. I got flowers today, and today is actually a very special day. It's the day of my funeral. Last night he beat me to death. If only I had the courage and the strength to leave him, maybe I wouldn't have gotten flowers today.
Oh, welcome back. It is Galaxy today. It was dramatized here by popular actor, and it actually tells the story of how people have been keeping quiet, and apologies keep on coming by the day until the apologies just end, and well, before we know it, it is your death. We need to speak up. We need to speak out concerning sexual violence, not just in relationships, but just all around us here in Nigeria. We have a guest this morning. We will be looking at all of the issues with us today. Let us make welcome. Her name is Nike Folagbade. She is a relationship coach and lead coach, Nike Folagbade International. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today.
Good to have you.
Good morning.
Okay, good morning. We're looking at eliminating sexual violence. I mean, I don't want to believe people are not aware of sexual violence, except if they want to live in denial, but we're looking at eliminating it. I know that most of the people who get the backlash are women, but men too,
Yes.
to get sexually abused, How do we begin to change the narratives now? I'm saying that a whole lot of people, for them, they feel it's normal for them to be beaten or for them to be violated or one way or the other. But how do we begin to eliminate this? We've done awareness. What else can we do to see that these things is curbed? How else do we go about this?
Okay, I think in the first place, let's look at it generally.
Okay.
Because sexual violence can happen even to a minor, can happen to partners, can happen to spouses and stuff like that. So I remember when I was 6 years old and my private lesson teacher started molesting me, and it started by him buying stuffs for me, and I just felt, oh, it's just my teacher, And then from there, he would lure me into the staircase, and that's how I started. And then he would tell me, if you ever tell your mom or your dad, I'm going to beat you up. And because of that, I had to keep quiet. Now, if you look at it from that angle, he has instilled fear in me already.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at it in the aspect of relationships, there's something called stigma here in Africa. So over here, when people go through sexual violence, you get things like, oh, it's because of how you were dressed. You were the one that went to his house. You were the one that did this. And so nobody's listening to the victim. And so because no one is listening to the victims, people keep quiet. People are suffering in silence. And sometimes because the person that is inflicting this abuse is someone of power, maybe it's your pastor or it's your mentor, or it's someone bigger than you. You do not want, you don't want things to get out there. You don't want issues for your family. And at that point, people begin to cover it up. So if you say that you want to eliminate it, there has to be a lot of education from the girl child to the boy child. It has to start from the younger age. Our parents have to be involved, because I remember those times, even when they would hear that a boy is molesting you, they would even beat you. So if I know my mom is going to beat me or my parents are going to beat me, why should I come and tell them? You understand? So a lot of people are going through fear of what would they say, fear of denial and stuff like that.
But as it is right now, don't you think we need to, aside from educating just the girl child and of course the boy child, what about the parents themselves? You just give a scenario where if someone comes out to report them, he gets beaten up. Isn't it a thing that the parent should be the ones to provide the succor to this young child? Why are they not? Is it miseducation? What exactly are the issues?
Okay, so education has to come in different angles. Aside for the children, the parents. And we have different institutions that can actually deploy this. Aside for the professional bodies, the religious institutions are the ones that actually have more access to this parent. The school, during their PTA meetings, they have access to the parent and the like. So parents need to understand that parenting is not just about providing money for your children and allowing them to go to school. No, it's also about the emotional connection, because if you do not have a relationship with your child, they cannot even tell you what is going on in the first place. And then when they tell you, you have to be the one to carry the burden for them. You should lift it away from your child, not inflict more on it. So there has to be a lot of education on that aspect. But aside education, the government also has to come inside this matter in terms of law. What happens when you're caught doing stuff like it just seems so popular for people to do these things and just get away with it.
But how about culture? Because I know some culture permits underage marriage, and then that way they don't see any form of hazard. Don't you think some adjustment is needed?
Yeah, that's one of the places that the government has to come in. So the fact that this people of power think that it's okay to marry an underage child, it becomes difficult for even that government to do something about it. So they have to also tell themselves the truth and say, let's go for the matured people. Let's leave these people. They have right to education, they have right to life, they have right to freedom. And so when the government can protect its country, and then the parents can also get education, go for trainings, and we have a lot of parenting bodies out there. And then the religious institutions should stop saying things like, obey your parents, obey your parents. That's the only thing they talk about. I also know that they say, do not provoke your children. You understand? So they have to make it very balanced. And then in some places, they're already teaching the children how to protect themselves, especially the girl child, how to fight back, what to say, the different. When you go to some countries, they have different things they give to their children. Whenever stuff like this happen, call this number or do this or say this code and we'll understand it. So these things have to come in place. There has to be code for all of this. And you know, sometimes it even starts with sexual harassment in the office.
Yes.
So when you look at it, it's everywhere. And that's why even HR are beginning to put in policies around sexual harassment. So you can't even just say, oh, you look beautiful. That statement alone can be termed sexual harassment. And so the official places are trying to, inculcate that, but we also need the culture, we need the government, we need to start seeing these children and even the teenagers as people. And there's nothing like she dressed in an indecent way. That's why I raped her.
I was coming to that. I mean, someone once said if you walked into a supermarket and you saw a bottle of perfume just lying on top of a desk, untouched, no one doing anything to it, you can just pass by and pick up that perfume and start spraying. I mean, you'll be accused of theft. And so, regardless of what mannerism one is wearing, regardless of what you're wearing, it shouldn't mean that you take advantage of such people. But even now that I've been to schools where parents are told to even dress their children decently because of pedophiles. You want to say something about that?
I think it's on the both sides. A lot of people say things like, I can wear what I like, I can do what I like, it's my body, but you're actually disturbing some other persons, because a lot of people have psychological issues, mental issues. You're just seeing them moving around and looking all fine and all. And so when someone says she was wearing a very short dress and she was opening her cleavage, and so I had no choice, the person has a mind issue around sex. And because the society has given a psychological permission for people to use that excuse to rape ladies and even guys. And so when you hear stuff like, the first thing they say is, what were you wearing? At that point, the victim has to shut up.
Okay, all right. We still have Nick Folagbade, a relationship coach, with us here in the studios. We have yet another guest joining us here in our Lagos studio. But you will agree with me that there is the need to emphasize more on the girl child. So we'll take this report on educating the girl child, and we'll come talk more about this issue of sexual based violence in a moment. Still join us again. The girl child is bedeviled with many challenges in Nigeria and Africa at large as a result of misogyny and sexism hovering over Africa. From families who see them as liabilities instead of assets to societies which neither appreciate nor develop their talents and abilities because of their gender, it is as if it is all about wars for them. They have over the years been ridiculed as feeble and most vulnerable to societal ills, ranging from rape, child labor, female genital mutilation, early marriage, trafficking, and they are as well denied full formal education, as many girls of school age do not have adequate access to education. In Nigeria, for instance, women and girls constitute 60% of the illiterate population, and their literacy rate remains around 8 points lower than that of the male. Against this disturbing trend, the Human Development Initiatives (HDI), in collaboration with the Action Aid Nigeria, wants the government to pay more attention to the education needs of children, particularly girls and disabled groups. So much so it was highlighted at this capacity building on girls' child clubs and youth education financing.
The important thing is for them to know their rights. If you don't know your rights, then it turns to abuse, and ignorance is a terrible thing. So their rights to education. It's in those days that people will tell you that, oh, girls, they have to be in the kitchen, they have to be at home. But things are evolving now. Nothing like that. So for them to know they have to be in school. Not those days that, oh, Girls can only be seen but not heard.
Education is still being rationed between a boy and a girl. You find that female children most time drop out of school when they get to certain stage, if at all they are able to start. So this is still a challenge in Nigeria.
Will there ever be a day in Nigeria where the girl child will be as privileged as a boy child with regards to freedom to pursue their academic pursuits? What should the girl child be doing if they are faced with challenges? What does the Child Rights Act say concerning financing of education?
They too should be able to express themselves and be able to tell, the teachers, even if there are issues in schools, like some schools, that they don't have toilets, or the toilets are dilapidated, or some other things that would make them to be uncomfortable. They should be able to voice out.
If any child or a parent of any child has to pay for that right, then it's a violation of the right itself. So in this context, we are referring to publicly funded schools. So all public schools must be adequately funded in a way that all children have the benefit and the services they are created to deliver. So the idea of private school does not come in when we talk about right to education. What happens to a child or a family who cannot afford a private school? That child is automatically deprived of quality education if the state government or a national government cannot provide that quality education.
Some female students share some of the concerns.
These are my choice, and we were told that the tax that our parents pay are used by the government to build on education for children, and so it's like the government all over the world now, they've planned that the money they realize now, that they should use it for education, and all students and children of the world should acquire education.
One of the things we came here for is education. Government should provide education. At least the budget on education should be 20%.
With about 60% of Nigerians living in poverty, families are forced to make difficult choices, one of which is to sacrifice the education of some of their children for the education of who will eventually carry the family to the promised land. Welcome back, and that's a focus on girl child education. Joining us yet in our Lagos studio, let's make welcome Adetoye Enikweme. He is a youth coach. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today.
Good to have you. Good morning. Okay, so we're looking at sexual violence, and then she's giving us heads up on a couple of things. But from your own angle now, if you would like to talk from the angle of youth, what would you say is the thriving reasons for youth to be involved in sexual violence?
It's indeed deep.
Okay.
Every man is formed out of what they get informed by. And there is no how you want to separate the life of a youth or any man from the background or from their foundation. So I would always want to refer back to the foundation of an individual who happens to be an abuser or somebody who sexually is abusing others, violent about it. What the person has been exposed to can be a result of what informs their mind, or because they were abused, they now see it as a form of taking advantage or revenging, instead of them to get healed from that law.
But how do you get healed if you don't even know if you're sick? Because the mind is such that it's what you introduce to the mind sees it as the right thing. So if from the beginning I don't even know this is wrong, and that's how I said, how do I get healed from it?
So, like I said, is from what he or she has been exposed to. Let's say the person has been abused.
Okay.
Definitely he now sees it because his right was violated.
Okay.
So the person that violates him, of course, will not tell him, oh, what I've done to you is wrong. But the child in his conscience, or the person in his conscience, know that something has been done to me wrongly. Somebody has abused me. Somebody has eroded on my right. So instead of them now finding a way to talk, either telling the parents or telling somebody close to them about what happened to them, they just keep it to themselves and say, okay, definitely, if this is what was done to me, based on the fact that this person overpowered me, I must also find somebody to overpower them. So one way to do or to help out of it is to talk or speak. I give a scenario of a story of a lady that happened in the US, a college girl or secondary school. She was violated. Her right was violated sexually.
Okay.
And then she got home that day, didn't say a word to the father nor the mother, and she went upstairs and jumped from there down, and she died. It was the police that now called the home to say, hello, so and so, we just suspected that something has just happened. And that has been going on from time to time. But because she didn't say it to anybody, or the people around too did not observe that something is happening. So definitely the person will either keep silent, continue with the act, or end it themselves.
Okay, let me talk to you now, Nika. You know, you shared your experience and what happened, you know, when you were a child. You know, most people, you know, after going through such traumatic experiences, you know, they tend to build up a whole lot of anger, you know, but in your own stand, you were able to move away from it. You were able to see it as something that has happened, but it has not stored your life. You know, a lot of people are still stuck there because they were violated, they were sexually abused when they were much younger. You know, how do you begin to move away from that particular low level and come out strongly and be able to also help other people?
Okay, in the first place, I think that every of us react to situations differently.
Yeah.
For someone like me, when I went through that situation, I felt somehow, I felt violated, but because I couldn't speak up to my parents about it, so I kept quiet, and it also led me into some sexual vices, like pornography and all sort of things, because it's just more like my sexuality had been distorted already, you understand? Now, for me, at some point, let's just say exposure, knowledge, access to personal development. This helped me to understand that I could find help. But for some people, they don't have that access. So one of my friends that I coached at some point, I used to see her as a very promiscuous person. But I never knew her background until we had a session. And that was when she told me how she got raped at a very young age, the same age with me. But she didn't know how to handle it. And so she became, you know, a very wild lady, and so now she's just seeking for help. Mine was earlier, I'd found help, I'd gone for trainings and stuff like that. So I'd say that we need to do more work in terms of preaching these things. Like, this is an avenue. Someone is watching right now on TV and saying, oh, I could actually find help. Funny enough, I never knew that what happened to me was something bad. It was via social media, and I saw people sharing their story, and I was like, oh, I was actually violated. So this is the power of social media. This is the power of media right now. So we need to do more. We need to go to different avenues, go to schools, go to churches, go to mosques, go to everywhere that we can find people and speak the truth to them, because it affects their belief system, which is what you were saying. When you do not heal from that experience, you grow up to become something else, and you exert that influence on your child.
Okay, we'll come back to you, but let's go to it and get inputs from there. We're now being joined by Omomi Ogorotimi. She is the Executive Director, Gender Mobile Initiative. Good morning to you, Omomi. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today. We understand that your initiative, the GMI, has been able to help people who have gone through similar challenges, that's sexual violence. Can you just run us through what you have done, what you were able to do to reintegrate them, and the succor you were able to provide, you know, for them?
accessibility. Yeah, so at Gender Mobile Initiative, we essentially work with girls and women who are victims of abuse. We provide them a range of comprehensive services, ranging from counseling, social, and of course, livelihood support. And within the short time that we've been around for, we've recorded a whole lot of cases, essentially with children who have suffered one form of abuse or the other. And usually what we do is we provide them with legal services. But a lot of times when we record these cases, people don't want to go to court for a number of reasons. Of course, it's not new. It's not news anymore that the way our legal framework is structured victimizes females already in terms of gathering evidence in court to prosecute cases around sexual abuse. So to that extent, a lot of people get discouraged. And at the point of reporting these cases, they don't want to go to court. They just need counseling. Sometimes if they've been raped, it's even a problem to. And also, essentially, I think we need to beam the searchlight on the Nigerian police. They don't help matters at all. So sometimes people get cases around sexual abuse. They get to Nigerian police to report cases. And they're right there and then victimized. You know, they blame them for a number of things. Where did this happen? Where were you? What were you wearing? So, and this, of course, speaks to the rape culture that is embedded within the system. So within the short time we've been around for, yes, we've provided, support in the area of providing counseling, which is very important, in the area of providing livelihood support, which actually constitutes an integral part in access to justice. A lot of people too feel that you need a whole lot of money to prosecute cases.
All right, Omami, I will need to take a quick break, but we'll join you in a bit. It is still Galaxy today, and we are looking at eliminating sexual violence. Omami Ogorotimi is the Executive Director, Gender Mobile Initiative. He joined us, or she is joining us from Ikeda State. We'll talk more with her, and of course, we'll still have Nike Falagbade and Adetoye with us here in our Lagos studios. Plus, from Ibadan, Modukbe Awoshe Musi is our guest from Oyo State. We'll take this quick musical by Faust, Child of the World, and we'll come back and talk more with our guests to join us again.
Yeah. Go. I pull up her mother's eye, she be trophy daughter. Mommy raised her, daddy never dropped a dollar. Daddy ran away, didn't wanna have a child. Mommy wasn't ready, still remember how she cried. But time flies, all I want is in the past life. Shalati my short, but body to the large size. She just collect law degree for Unilag. First class in the back, make her mommy to the brag. She went to be an intern for her uncle. Just a little hustle before she go to law school. My daughter, the Lord will be your muscle. Omo Jesu, mommy knows she loved the gospel. But Uncle Peter Agbaya, I like you. One late night became wild in the sitting room. Uncle, please stop, shh, be silent. Uncle didn't stop till he broke the hymen. Am I a fool? She I don't go astray. Am I a victim of my circumstance? I'm a lua biti bossa waye, and now I'm feeling like I done lost my way. Am I a fool? She I don't go astray. Am I a victim of my circumstance? I'm a lua biti bossa waye, and now I'm feeling like I done lost my way. I be child of the world. I don't become a child of the world. I be child of the world. I don't become a child.
Welcome back. That is a song from Faust, Child of the World. We'll go back to Ekiti and round off with Omomi Ogunrotimi, Executive Director, Gender Mobile Initiative. Many thanks for hanging on, Omomi. You were telling us before the break how people have refused to take litigation as an option when their rights have been, trampled upon. Why is that? Is it that they feel that it is they'll be stigmatized, or they will not really get justice?
Justin, I didn't quite get that. Can you repeat that again?
option for people who have been violated sexually. But you say some people will not really take that particular option, to go to court to get redress. What is the reason for that? Is it stigma or sheer fact that they feel they might not get justice?
Combination of so many factors actually. First is you'd realize that in Nigeria we do not have specialized courts for cases around sexual abuse. Say for Lagos State, and of course Lagos State is the model state when it comes to being proactive about things like this. Lagos State has been able to set up specialized courts and of course specialized judges to handle cases like this. So in situations like that, you'd see that those cases may actually be heard off camera. But generally, in so many states in Nigeria, we have specialized courts. People come to courts, to hear rape cases. The victims are there. It's an open court. They have to give evidence. And of course, the process of even gathering evidence is something else. So these cases, they linger on for so long a time. Imagine hearing a rape case for like 3 years. A rape victim who was abused 3 years ago is still coming to court to come and recount such unpalatable experience. So all of those put together, the stigma is there, the fear of the unknown, of course, and also a lot of people lack information on how to report some of these cases. And of course, the healthcare system too doesn't really help matters. How many hospitals do we have doctors who are specially trained to handle some of these cases? And so all of this put together discourage victims from further seeking redress in court. And come to think of it, statistics also is there for us. How many convictions have we been able to secure in Nigeria so far? So the totality of all of this experience discourage victims from coming forward to seek legal redress. And we shouldn't also forget that there's a reciprocal relationship between all of this conviction, people speaking out, seeking legal redress, and the prevalence of sexual abuse. When people speak out more and they get justice, it sends a signal to perpetrators, and to an extent, it of course would impact on the prevalence of sexual abuse.
She is the Executive Director, Gender Mobile Initiative, GMI. She joined us from Ado-Ekiti in Ekiti State. Once again, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. All right, we still have Nike Afolagbade in Lagos, and of course, Ade Toye and Nikwame with us here in our Lagos studios.
Okay, so that is a movement that is trying to playing their role when it comes to sexual violence. But I'd like us to look at handling this aspect of coming out of it. You were able to come out of it, but there's this stigma that comes that once you're violated, you're done. You are suspended. I mean, you even hear people say that they finished the person's life. But is it not true that even when there are effects from whatever happened, probably won't get contacted with some kind of sicknesses or get pregnant or one thing or does it still stop you from having a normal life psychologically and otherwise? Does it stop one from having such a life after being violated?
Yeah, it actually affects the psychological aspect of a person, which is why they need to go for therapy.
Okay.
Before they can continue, because some of them, when you see them, so let's assume I was abused and he is trying to touch me or is just trying to say something and he does this, I could just panic.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's a trigger. So you see them panic immediately, thinking, no, don't touch me. And this guy is thinking, what's wrong? For some of them, they were usually very outspoken before and then they become withdrawn. While some that were withdrawn become outspoken. So different people have different ways they react to these things, and 7 out of 10 abusers are close people, and so this effect keeps coming to their mind a lot of time. If they get married, a lot of married couples that has gone through that situation, you notice that the woman doesn't want the man to touch her, and it takes a man that really understands to go through that process with her. I know someone as a sex therapist and she went through the same thing, but the husband realized that something is wrong with this woman. She doesn't want me to touch her, she's always panicking, and then he found help for her. But a lot of men would not do that. A lot of men would say, it's like, you don't want me to, I will go outside and go and look for another woman, and before you know it, she's just there messing up. So she needs to find help in terms of therapy. And number 2 is the mindset. There's a level you get to. It doesn't matter where you stand to share your story. you wouldn't bother about what anybody says again. And I always say there is really no place I cannot share myself. I don't care what you want to say. I've been able to work on my mind to that extent, and nobody's going to do it for you. You have to find that strength by yourself, because the world is already wicked. You have no choice than to just, you know, find grace for yourself and say, I can do this. You're going to have a normal life. When you get therapy, when you get help, and you're able to find everything and just close it up, you live normally. And when you bring out positive energy, you attract people who would appreciate you the way you are, and you have a beautiful family at the end of the day.
I see. You want to say something?
You know, like she said, there is a point where if you've not worked on the psychological mind of that person or psychological aspect of that person, there is always a peak of energy when that person was being violated. So each time anybody touches the same place that the abuser touched when he or she was violated, he sent a signal back, like this want to happen. So it is highly important that if you've gone through that process, don't just think, oh, on what everybody will be saying. Of course, there will be stigma. People will be like, and the truth is, there are some people that stigmatize against others that are actually in that same shoe. But the fear of what the people will say makes them to join the bandwagon of people to stigmatize against others, while they also actually fighting against such kind of thing. So the best is, don't think on what the people will say. And keep quiet when you're feeling hot.
I need to take caution.
Go ahead.
Sometimes when we're trying to seek for help, a lot of people get to talk to a sex therapist or whatever, and this same therapist violates these victims again. Yes, it happens a lot, especially when that person has not even healed very well, but they are helping others. It gets to a stage where the violation continues, and so this person goes up and say, I went to a professional and they violated me. So there's nothing, I'm done. I know a lot of people that way. So yeah, you need to make research before you speak out to someone. Yes.
Okay. All right. We're still getting signals from Ibadan. We have joining us Modukpe Awoshemusi. She is the coordinator of your state sexual and gender-based response team. Good morning to you, Modukpe, and many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today. What is the situation in Oyo State? Because this issue of sexual-based violence is something that has assumed an alarming proportion. What exactly are the issues, and what has your organization been able to do to stem this particular issue in the bud?
This is Oyo State. When you talk of sexual violence, I've listened to what people have been saying since, and I discovered that people have been talking about sexual violence generally. But today, marking the day of elimination of sexual violence in conflict, as passed by the resolution of the Security Council of the UN, that every 19th of June of each year be marked and celebrated as a day for elimination of sexual violence in conflict. In Oyo State, we have Oyo State Sexual and Gender Violence Response Team, which was inaugurated last month. But before then, if you look at what is happening generally in the society, and particularly Nigeria has come under an umbrella of a country that has conflicts in some parts of the country, and our women, our children, men, boy and girl have suffered this violence, sexual violence, I mean. And if you look at it, it is something that is global, particularly in the northern part of the country. For some time, we have experienced a kind of what is it called now? Violence. We have experienced conflict. We have experienced trauma. We have experienced terrorism. That's the word that I was looking for. And a lot of women and children have suffered sexual violence. They are still suffering it. In this year's theme is actually centered on the survivor. Is centered on the survivors. So you discover that the approach that the UN is employing, particularly now, centers on the survivors. Survivors of sexual violence, either in times of conflict or at any point in time, are affected, and this effect transcends a generation. They are raped, they have unwanted pregnancies, they have unwanted abortion, they have unwanted castration or sterilization. So you discover that this trauma is psychological, is mental, is physical, health-wise, they suffer. And before you can bring a victim or a survivor out of this trauma, there is need for some structures to be put on ground. The first thing is, in Oyo State, that's why we have the sexual and gender-based response team. This is like a one-stop justice team. We have a psychologist there. We have a counselor who is versed in the art of post-traumatic counseling. We have the police as a member of the team. We have medical doctors and health practitioners. We have lawyers. We have people from Ministry of Justice. We have members from the Ministry of Women Affairs. We have members from immigrations. All stakeholders are members of this team. So when a case of sexual abuse or sexual violence is reported, you discover that you have to go to the police for report. From there, you go for medical attention. From there, the police will investigate. Then the case goes to the DPP. Then from there to court for prosecution, to ensure that the survivors get justice. Even those who lose their life in the course of that still get justice.
Was Omomi, sorry, I just mixed that up. Omomi joined us from Ikeda State. We have been speaking with Modukme Awose Musi. She is the coordinator of your state sexual and gender-based response team. She gave us an overview of the theme for today as enshrined by the United Nations, sexual violence in conflict, and of course what we need to do as a country to stem this whole issue of sexual violence in the board. Many thanks once again, Modukme, for joining us on the show. We do appreciate it. All right, we still have Nike and Adetoye here in our Lagos studios. So if the counselors and the psychologists who are supposed to offer succor and some sort of support to these people who have been violated cannot help and actually doing the same thing which they should be helping out for, who do we run to?
They actually help.
Okay.
It's just that somehow when something is happening, you need to let it be known so that people do not say, okay, this person is trying to help me. And so when there's a cause of for alarm, you're there quiet saying, okay, maybe something's about to happen again. So that's why I'm saying we have the professionals that are truly helping. So you need to make research and be sure that these people have track record of survivors that you can trace and say, okay, yeah, this place, they actually helped me. Not just someone that you don't know, but just claims that title, especially now that we have a lot of people claiming as therapists online and social media and everywhere, even buildings. We now have, just like we have so many churches everywhere, that's the same way we have people who want to help in different things. So you need to really make your research very well. And I would also say that social media is like one of the biggest ways to reach people now. Almost everyone is on Facebook, on Instagram. So aside for the offline, we can do more of videos like that's gold flower or something like that. Today. More videos that can cut across to different people. Then we need to do a lot of outreaches, especially to places where they don't even have access to social media, TV like Makoko community and all those kinds of places. We need to go out more. And then all the institutions like the religious bodies, the health bodies, we need to start putting up placards and educating people, let people know that they can actually speak up. So if everywhere is safe, then people can start speaking up. But if nowhere is safe, then nobody's going to speak up.
Okay.
Yes.
True. We need to, as much as possible, go all out to start talking about this. And also we must bear in mind that we should not stigmatize, no matter the situation that the person has gone through. Family members, friends, don't stigmatize. Because
sorry to butt in here about stigmatization. Excuse me. A couple of months ago, I had a group of people who met concerning this issue, and what they said is change the narrative. It should no longer be A was raped, but rather let it be B is a rapist. Do you think that would help? Instead of the stigma being on the victim, it should be on the perpetrator, saying, okay, this is the person who abused this person. It's not about the person being abused or the person who was abused. It's about the perpetrator.
Yes, we can see from both ways. Even if we change the narrative, at that point, both of them need help.
Okay.
The person that raped and the person that was raped, both of them need help.
Okay.
We are only saying this generally now from maybe somebody that is not married.
Okay.
We have couples violating the sexual rights of their partners.
Yes.
Which is an offense.
But in that case, how do you even begin to seek help? Because some people would say that she's my wife. How can I even begin to rape my own wife?
And once it's without our consent, it's a rape, and that's part of what the UN is talking about.
Okay.
In conflict, sexual conflict. Okay. Violating the rights of anyone, as long as it's not with their consent. While you either go in with them, you violated their rights.
A lot of people have had to go to, let me talk to you, Nikki, have had to go to the police station to report some cases, but at the end of the day, they tend up being the victims at the stations. So what do they do?
Well, like we said, if the government can actually make this a policy, like make a law out of this, then it means that even the police has to stand up to it. Because even when there's domestic violence, for instance, and a wife runs to the police, they tell her, go to your, because it looks like there's no law around it. So if they put in policies around this and make the police get educated also that when people come, this is what you should do. You know, it's beyond just standing around and trying to safeguard people. You need to even start picking cues. When you see children outside naked, like now, when I see young girls and boys running around naked, I tell them, go inside and wear your clothes. So every single one of us needs to speak up and help the people in our society. We start looking out for everyone. Yes, take responsibility for the society. When you see some things that are not right, stand up and speak up. Don't just say, I'm not the police. So.
All right, my name is Adiola, a victim. I was beaten and almost killed by the father of my child. Then I packed out my belongings. So please, what what I did, is it right or wrong? Jola needs to know if the decision she took was the right one.
Sure, you're supposed to run. When someone is violating you, you just have to. Your life is first important. When you get separation, then you can go seek for help. But if you're there, you're going to just like that movie. You're just going to die before you find help. Yes.
All right, government should look at this. Also, parents should watch their children. Damilola sent that one in. This one says it's not everybody is opportune to create job. Okay, this is not related to what we are discussing. So, Toye and Nike, as we begin to round off, I just want you to give just a piece of advice, for that particular person who has been violated, who has been sexually abused, and right now she's thinking that her life can never, or his life cannot be the same again. I want you to speak on the lady's perspective, and you speak on the man's perspective, just in 30 seconds.
Okay, I would say that even though we live in a society where it seems like women do not matter, you are the one that can stand up for yourself. I always say it, even though I grew up having a rough background, today my life is different, and it's because I took responsibility for myself. I wasn't waiting for anyone to validate me. When you keep waiting for society, social media, friends and people to validate you, these people will violate you in the process. So you need to stand up and understand that no situation is about you. There's a difference between a situation or a scenario and you. Failures do not, it's not like a tag on you that you go around wearing it. No, you have to separate whatever has happened from who you are. Your identity is different. So stop allowing these things to define who you are. Seek for help, talk to someone, wait till you find the right help, even if you miss your way. And one day things will fall in place. And then use social media to look for help, make research, read up knowledge, do all that you can to help yourself. And parents, please watch your children, not just physically, emotionally. When you see them withdraw, ask questions, make them your friends so that they can actually start speaking to you.
All right, thank you so much. Toye, your last word on that.
From the angle of we are in a society that gives so much attention, so-called much attention to the guys or to the male. And because of that, when such kind of situations happen where a male has been sexually violated, they tend to keep quiet. Like, how do I go about telling somebody that as a guy I was sexually violated? And then they just keep it to themselves. Meanwhile, the hurt goes on and they use that to keep acting up or repeating the same thing to others. So my charge is that don't allow that general belief stop you from seeking help. Don't allow the general belief make you withdraw to yourself and decide, okay, it has happened, I need to take a revenge. It is two things. Speak to yourself about it. You know that what has happened to you, it hurts you. And if you don't want that to repeat on others, what you need to do is find that way out. So then you talk to yourself.
All right. Thank you so much, Toye.
Attitude towards that.
All right, that's the size of the show for today. But my final word on this would just be that let's not bottle everything all in. If we have challenges, if we have been abused, be us girls or guys, let us try to speak out. Sometimes people might stigmatize against us, but the truth is that when you bottle the whole thing up, you tend to put a whole lot of anger and a whole lot of hatred in you, and that is not the best way to go. Many thanks to all of our guests who have joined us on the show today. To Nike, to Adetoye, we'll say we appreciate your coming today.
Thank you so much. And to Bodukwe Awushemusi and the Maomi Ugunrutimi, all from Ibadan and Ikiti respectively, we'll say a big thanks. And to you who joins the program, thank you. We'll be back tomorrow, Thursday. We'll be doing something different. Make it a date with us at 10. Remember, don't keep quiet. Say it and get freed. I'm Uche Onyekuluji. Bye for now.
And I'm Justin Academy. Many thanks for being a part of the show. We'll be around again 10 a.m. tomorrow.